Yes, so now it is recording, and let's share screen. Share. Okay, all right. All right, so this should be F11, and okay. So let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. Aha, this is not working. Sorry, this not seems to doesn't seem to work. Let me just start it once again and see if it works. Sorry to kill your time, but some technical problem at my end. Now it's working. Okay, so let me open. All right, let's see. Okay, so now it's working. So do you see lecture 7 on your screen? Do you see lecture 7 on your screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, we had we wasted a little bit of time.
Yes.
I'll try to sort of fix this well in advance for the coming lectures. Okay. Okay. So let's uh, assuming that there are no questions, let's recall what did we do last time. Last time we introduced the concept of a metric space. Yeah. So remember, a metric space means that you have a set and you have a function defined on the product space. Yeah. So let's recall, let XD be a metric space. Yeah. Right. So X is a set and D is a function, real valued function defined on the product space X cross X, satisfying certain properties. Right. And we saw several examples last time. Yeah. So right. So let's just quickly recall what is it. The first one. Well, rather than writing the properties, let me just first say where is this function D defined. Just to quickly recall, so D is a function defined on the product space. It's always mandatorily real valued, and it satisfies the following properties. So one, for all x and y in the set X, D is always positive. So whenever the distance function between two elements is 0, this can happen if and only if x equals y. The distance between x and y, we demand that this be equal to the distance between y and x. And the last one being for x, y, and z in X, the set X, the distance between X and Y is always dominated by the sum of the distance between X and Z and Y, right? Okay. So last time we saw a couple of examples of sets and different metrics. Yeah, we also noted down that it is possible to define different matrices on the same set. Yeah. All right. So any questions? Please ask. Is this okay with everybody? Do I take it as a yes? Yes. Okay. All right. So let's just proceed from this point. So if you look at, so I'm working under the assumption that xt is a metric space, and I'm considering a subset of X. So if A is a subset of X, then this function D, which is defined on the product space X cross X, we can consider the restriction of D to the space A cross A. Yeah, so let me write that down. So XD is a metric space. I am not writing it here again and again, but that is the standing assumption here. So given A a subset of X, then the restriction of the metric D, the distance function D to A cross A is a metric, right? So we call it something, we call it say rho on the set A. Yeah, so what I want to say is that given a metric space XD, I have a function D satisfying this. Okay. And now, okay, yeah, looks a little bit better. And now I want to consider the restriction of D to A cross A. So I am giving it a name. I am calling it rho. So rho is a real valued function. The domain is the product space A cross A, and the codomain is the set of real numbers, right? And how do we define this? For any two elements, let me call the elements A1 and A2 of rho, I define it to be the distance between A1 and A2. Yeah, or A1, A2, so the restriction of D to the product space A cross A. Now clearly rho satisfies all the assumptions, which means properties 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So as to conclude that rho defines a metric on the set A. Yeah, this metric has a name. This is called as the induced metric. Yeah. So I'll write that down. The metric rho, which is obtained by restricting D to the subset A cross A, is called the induced metric. The induced metric on the subset. So induced by the metric D on the subset A. Now, very often what happens is there is not a separate notation used, and one will continue to denote rho by the symbol D. Yeah, so I will also write that down. So it is customary to denote rho by the D. Yeah. So for example, so let's just quickly take an example. So for example, you have the set of real numbers, and you have the Euclidean metric on D, yeah, where D is defined by setting this, right? We saw this last time, right? So you can consider the induced matrix on the subset of the real line. Yeah, so you can consider the induced metric on, for example, the set of natural numbers, the set of rational numbers, and sort of any subset of R, and so on, right? Okay. Okay. So is this all right with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Just sort of some language that you have to be familiar with. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. So let's continue on the next page. So let XT be a metric space. Okay. And let us fix a point P of X. Yeah. And let's fix a radius R. Right. Okay. And we consider the following set. So let me write that down. So I am going to write B P R. What is this? This is by definition all points in the set X which are at a distance at most R from P. Yeah. So this is called as an open ball with center P and radius R. Yeah, this is called an open ball in the metric space XD with center P and radius little r. Right? So please note that, going back to this notation one more time. So you fix a point P in X and some positive real number R, and you collect all points in the set X which are at most at a distance R from this fixed point P. Yeah, and the distance is measured in terms of the metric defined on X. Yeah, so the left hand side in fact depends on D. So in order to highlight that, I will introduce this subscript D in the notation. B subscript D PR. This is called as the open ball in the metric space XT with center P, radius R. Right? Now we saw examples, right? The same set can be given with different metrics, right? So if I consider a metric D1, X D1, and so for example, so let's just, let me just write this down. For example, if you sort of recall last time, we considered the space R2 with matrices D1 and the matrices D2 and the matrices. Sorry, so I can also talk about R3, but I did not do that last time. So I'll just stick to R2. R2, D3. Yeah, so D1, D2, D3 are were defined last time. 3 different matrices on the set R2. Yeah, I would sort of like you to sort of determine. What do I want you to determine? The open ball around the origin of, let's say, radius 1 in each of these matrices. Yeah, so for I equal to 1, 2, and 3. Right? I think I will leave this as a little exercise for you. Yeah. So does everybody understand what is to be done?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a question.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
What is D1, D2, D3?
Yeah. So D1, D2, D3 were defined last time for the benefit of those. So if you're a little lost, I can sort of say that one more time. So you remember, so let me denote points in R2 by x1, y1, and let's say x2, y2, and order tuple in R2. So D1 is, I think this was what I denoted as D2. So this was x1 minus x2 square and y1 minus y2 square. Right? And if I remember correctly, last time I gave this example and it was a little exercise to check that this indeed defines a metric on R2.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, and D2 was the supremum of the absolute value of x1 minus y1 and x2 minus y2, And D3, if I remember correctly, was defined as the following. Yeah, I think, sorry, I think there's a little correction here. So this should be x1 minus x2 and y1 minus y2. So over here, it should be x1 minus x2. And so do you all remember now this?
Okay.
Yeah, so this was taken up last time. The exercise last time was to check that each of these functions indeed define a metric on the space R2. This time the example is to determine the open balls around origin of radius 1 in each of these matrices. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So for example, if you're too lost, let's just pick something even more simpler. Let's look at the Euclidean space R with the Euclidean metric. Yeah. So what was D? D was this, the Euclidean distance between X and Y, right? So if I ask you in this metric, what is the open ball? So there's, sorry. So what is the open ball around origin in this metric? If I ask you this question, then what would be your answer? So what is the open ball around origin, radius 1 in the Euclidean metric? What is that? So by definition, it is all points on the real line such that the distance from the origin is at most 1. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So which means by definition, this is this, correct? All points on the real line such that the absolute value of x is strictly less than 1, yeah, which means it is exactly the interval minus 1 to 1, yeah. So the open ball around origin of radius 1 in the Euclidean metric is actually an interval minus 1 to 1. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that
Minus
yes,
1 to 1.
everybody present here? Meaning, I
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
know. I see, meaning, how many of you are there? Let me check. So 39 of you. Yeah. Is there a question?
Ma'am,
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, tell me.
epsilon neighborhood and this thing is almost same.
It's
right?
almost same. All I'm saying is there is a name for this. Yeah. So there is epsilon neighborhood. In the epsilon neighborhood, this R is replaced by epsilon. Yeah, so epsilon, so this open ball in this metric space with center P in radius R is actually an R neighborhood around the point P.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
that's
why
it.
do we
But you should be familiar with both the things, right?
Okay.
This and that.
Okay.
Yes, it's the same thing. Both the things you should be familiar with. Yeah. So an epsilon neighborhood of a point P. Yeah, just a minute. Let me just complete the answer to her question. The epsilon neighborhood of a point P in the metric space XD is an open ball around with center P and radius epsilon. That's all. Is that okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
There's another student who wanted to say something.
No, ma'am. I was asking that it is always strict inequality. I mean, always less than R.
Correct. So we will see this a little later, but for a moment, all you have to keep in mind is there's a strict inequality and we call it open ball. Yeah, we will see what happens if we have a less than equal to. That will come little later. Very soon, but it will follow. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, everybody with me? Yeah, everybody with me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay,
Yes,
so we talked about neighborhoods last time. Now we've also introduced this term of open balls, and we also talked about the concept of limit point. Yeah, let's remind what is a limit point. Given a metric space XD, a point P is a limit point of a set E if every neighborhood of P contains a point of P different from, sorry, so let me write that down. I think this is a bit too much to say orally, especially if you're seeing it for the first time. Let me write it down. So recall. So I will not write again that XD is a metric space. We are working under the assumption that XD is a metric space. Okay, so XD is a metric space and E is a subset. Let me just for the, so given a metric space XD, so X is a set, so let E be a subset of X, a point P of X is said to be a limit point. It's said to be a limit point of the subset E if every neighborhood of P, so every neighborhood of P contains a point of the set E different from P, yeah, contains a point Q which is different from P such that Q belongs to E. Yeah, this is what we saw last time. Is this okay?
Yes.
P is said to be a limit point of E subset of X if every neighborhood of P contains a point of E different from P. Correct? Is that a yes with everybody present here?
yes.
Yes. And last time we also saw examples to the effect that the limit point, so if P is a limit point of the subset E, P may or may not belong to the subset E, right? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's try to do one little exercise just to sort of warm you up. Let's see. So let's consider example. Let's consider the set of real numbers with the Euclidean metric. Yeah, so remember what is this? The metric here is given like this. We are measuring the Euclidean distance between any 2 points on the real line. Okay, and now consider, so I am going to consider, what is my subset? I am going to consider the set of natural numbers, which is a subset of R, right? And suppose the question is find all limit points. Suppose the question is find all limit points of, so I should not say of, should say for. So find all limit points for n. Yeah. So does everybody understand what is the question we are talking about? We are looking at the Euclidean metric on the set of on the real line. I am looking at the subset of n of natural numbers, and the question is find all limit points for this set n. Right? Is this okay? So let's try to draw something. So suppose this is my 0, this is my 1, and this is my 2. Right? And so let's look at this. Yeah, let's try to scribble. So is 1 a limit point of the set n? Is 1 a limit point of the set of natural numbers?
No, ma'am.
So the claim is 1 is not a limit point of the set of natural numbers. Why? If you say that 1 is not a limit point, then by the definition, all you have to give me is, you need to find me one single neighborhood of 1 that does not contain any other point of the set of natural numbers besides 1 itself. Correct? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yes? So can you give me one such neighborhood?
We take x
Half
equals to half to 1.5.
Correct. So 1 plus 1. So one example is, so what the suggestion is that you look at this particular neighborhood. Yeah. So this is 1.5 and 0.5. This is a neighborhood of the interval 0.5 to 1.5 is a neighborhood of 1 on the real line. And this contains no other natural number besides the 1 itself. And hence 1 cannot be a limit point of set of natural numbers. So similarly, you can show that no natural number is actually a limit point of this set. Yeah. So I'll just write this statement. So we are just sort of discussing it here. I'll just write this statement without a substance. So these are just pointers, just hints, and not rigorous arguments. So hence, what is it? The first thing is no natural number is a limit point of this set of natural numbers. Correct? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's look at something else. So what about if I take, so I am looking at the limit points of the set of natural numbers in the real line. Yeah. What about I look at a real number? Yeah. So if I look at a real number, which is perhaps not a natural number. Yeah. Let's see this. So can x be, so let me call it x naught just for definiteness. Yeah. So if x naught is a real number, possibly not a natural number, we will see, it doesn't matter. Then can x naught be a limit point for the set of natural numbers? So let's see. Let me simplify. So if x naught belongs to R, so if x naught is a real number such that x naught is not a natural number, let me simplify this. Then can x naught be a limit point
No, ma'am.
of the set of natural numbers? Yes, please. Yeah, louder please, or else I'll increase the volume. Let's see if that helps. Let's see. Yeah, somebody wanted to say something?
Ma'am, I was just answering that x naught still cannot be a limit point of n.
X naught, you believe that x naught still cannot be a limit point of the set of natural numbers. So if you believe that, you have to tell me a neighborhood around x naught such that what happens? This particular neighborhood does not contain any other natural number.
Ma'am,
Correct?
suppose, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what you want to do, right? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
yeah, the thing is that the x naught does not belong to natural numbers, but according to the definition, only limit point only happens when it is belonging.
See, what are you saying?
It is belonging to that particular set, right?
No. See, last time we saw an example, right? See, the limit point P is a point in the set X. The limit point may not belong to the set E. Yeah. So, for example,
Okay.
let me write it down. Yeah. Last time we saw this example. We took E as the open interval AB, and we showed that in the Euclidean metric. So I'll just write RD, which is the Euclidean metric in this case. and we showed that the endpoint, which is not in the set E, is a limit point of E.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Please note that the limit point may or may not belong to the set E. In fact, we saw examples last time.
Ma'am, may I give the argument?
Sorry?
May I give the argument for the?
Yeah. See, so let me just sort of try to take everybody in one vote. Yeah, and then I'll sort of. So, what is your name?
Aman.
Aman. Yeah. So, Aman, hold on for a minute. Yeah. So, all I'm trying to say is, see, if x naught here is a natural number, then we are done. X naught is a natural number, then we have already sort of concluded that x naught cannot be a limit point of the set of natural number. Now I am looking at what happens if x naught is a real number, but not a natural number. Yes? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Tell me, Aman, what did you want to say?
Ma'am, for the x naught belongs to real number, we have a natural number which is smaller than that and a natural number bigger than that. Okay, so we consider so x naught minus smaller number natural number, or x naught plus the bigger element.
So you want to
We
fix
take
some natural number, or you want to work with any, because there is no uniqueness here. So for example, if x naught is let's say 1.5, then I can also work with the smaller natural number 1.
So we, ma'am, we take the smaller of the intervals because it is divided. The x naught belongs to suppose 1, 2. Okay.
Yes.
So we take the, if x naught is r 1.5 suppose. Okay. So we take it lesser than 0.5.
Right, so we have a name for that, right? We talked about it some few classes back. Let's look at the greatest integer function, which is less than or equal to x naught, right?
Yes.
That will do the job, right?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, yeah. So I'll just write down, Aman, what you are saying for the benefit of everybody, yeah? So consider, what he's saying is, consider the greatest integer function less than or equal to x naught, yeah? This is what we did. Did we do this? So let me, sorry, I'll just write this down. Just for the clarity of notation, let me not sort of go to boxes and rather like this. Yeah. Yes, let me sort of. So consider the following thing, right? I want to make the following claim. Yeah, so as Aman suggested, let's look at, for given real number x naught, there is a natural number, there is n in n such that so n minus 1 is less than equal to x naught is less than equal to n. Yeah, and you may possibly need to include the origin set 0 also. Yeah, is that what you want to say, Aman? There is a natural number, union possibly 0, such that x naught is actually bigger than or equal to n minus 1, but strictly less than n.
Yes, ma'am. So
yes?
we can, yes, ma'am, x naught minus n minus 1 upon 2, or the bigger element, which is n minus x naught upon 2. So we take the minimum, that interval will suffice for that.
Correct. Yeah, so one way to go about it is, so one suggestion is that, so I'll sort of polish Aman's argument a little bit. So he's saying that if x naught does not belong to the set of natural numbers, then set epsilon naught to be the following quantity. Sorry. So what do I set epsilon naught to be? So let me fix this less than equal to, yeah. So look at, so x naught, so I have n minus 1 here, n here, x naught sits between them, and possibly x naught is equal to n minus 1. In any case, what I'll do is I'll look at the distance between x naught and n minus 1, and and I look at the distance between n and x, and what do? I take the minimum of both those. One of them is bound to be positive. I set that to be epsilon naught. Then I look at this particular neighborhood around x naught minus epsilon naught, x naught plus epsilon naught. Then if I look at this neighborhood and intersect with the set of natural number, then this better contains something. Is that correct? Is that what you wanted to say, Aman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, is that correct? Is everybody with me on this point? So if choose epsilon naught like this, then this epsilon naught neighborhood around x naught intersects the set of natural numbers only in the point x naught possibly and nothing else. Is this okay? I will actually like all of you to sort of spend some time on this. Please think about this. Yeah, I think this is one of the assignment problems maybe, and which I sort of, which we discussed it here. Any questions in this? Any questions? Any questions? So, do I take it as a yes with everybody present here? Okay, excellent. So let's then continue. All right. Okay. I don't know what is the issue. This doesn't seem to work. Sorry. Okay, so we just continue. Okay. So this was another example on limit points. Okay. So let's see. So here's another definition. So if XD is a metric space and E is a subset of X. Yeah. So let me write that down. So let XD be a metric space, and let's consider a subset E of X, right? So if P is a point of E and P is not a limit point of E, then P is called an isolated point. Yeah. So let's see in light of this example. Yeah. So example, I will sort of go back to the definition one more time, but let's see this example first. So just now we considered the real line with the Euclidean metric, right? Which means that the distance D is given like this for any two real numbers. And consider the subset N of the real line, okay? Then we agreed that if no point of the set of natural numbers can be a limit point of the set of natural numbers. So in the light of this definition, every point of the set of natural numbers is an isolated point. Is this okay? Yeah, so this is example 1. Is this okay with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Do I take it as a yes with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, if P is the point of E but
Yes, ma'am.
not a limit point of the set E, then we call P to be an isolated point. Yeah, for in this example, every natural number is an isolated point. Yes? And shall we go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Yeah. See, you may look at, you may seem like these are a lot of definitions being thrown at you one after the other, but sooner or later, you should try to become familiar with it. And how are you going to become familiar and comfortable with these definitions? By working out examples, as many examples as possible. Okay. Here is a statement. I'll sort of proposition. Yeah. So again, I am working under the premise that XT is a metric space and E is a subset of X. So the statement this proposition is making is the following. If P, a point of X, is a limit point of the set E, then what do we know by definition? Then every neighborhood of P contains a point of E different from the point P, correct? Every neighborhood of P contains at least one point of the set E different from the point P, correct? Yes? Is that a yes with everybody present here? I'm just sort of saying the definition one more time. So the proposition says that much more is true than every neighborhood of P in fact has infinitely many points of E. Not just one. Yeah. So the definition says that if P is a limit point of E, then every neighborhood of P contains at least one point of E different from the point P. It follows that, in fact, if P is a limit point of the set E, then every neighborhood of P, in fact, contains infinitely many points of E, not just one. Correct? This is much, much, much stronger than what the definition says. Yeah, this is for free. We get it for free from the definition is what this proposition is saying. Is that all right? Does everybody follow the content of the statement?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So if that makes sense, shall we see sort of try to give a little argument to this? Why is this supposedly true? Yes. So let's say, suppose not. Suppose this statement is not true. So what will then happen? So suppose there is a neighborhood. There is a neighborhood. So we call it N of P that does not contain infinitely many points of E. Yeah, which means that which contains only a finite number of points of E. Of points of E. Yeah, is that okay? And I'm going to sort of label these points as something. So let me call these points as Q1, Q2, and all the way till Qn0. Yeah. So what am I saying? Suppose there is a neighborhood N of P which contains only N0 points of E. I am going to label them as Q1, Q2, Qn0, and I am going to say that each of them is distinct from P. Each distinct from P. Correct? Right. So let's try to draw a little picture here. So what are we trying to do? So let me. I have a point P. So this picture is assuming that X, the metric space X, is the real line. Yeah. So just sort of trying to draw something so that maybe the proof is a little more transparent. And suppose that what I should let me use a different color. So suppose that this is N is the neighborhood of the point P. The neighborhoods in the real line look like intervals around the point P, right? And what are the points, and what are we saying? That there are finitely many points. So these points are Q1, Q2, and let's say this one is the point Qn0. There are only finitely many points of the set E in this neighborhood N of the point P. Now, I need to arrive at a contradiction somehow. What will I use this? The only fact that I am given is that the point P is a limit point of the set E, right? So what is that I have to do? In order to arrive at a contradiction, I have to contradict the fact that P cannot be a limit point of the set E in this case. Yeah. Now, saying that P cannot be a limit point of E, meaning that I need to go back to the definition of the limit point. Yeah, where is the definition of the limit point? Let's scroll up and recall. So I need to show that P cannot be a limit point under such a situation. So I will try to demonstrate to you that there is indeed a neighborhood of P which does not contain any point of E besides P itself, and that we will be done. Correct? Is that okay? So the course of action is clear to everybody. What are we going to do? Now, how am I going to do? I have to find a neighborhood of P which does not contain any point of E, possibly P itself. Now, what am I given? I am given a neighborhood N of P which contains finitely many points of E. Yeah, so what am I going to do? So in this picture, the picture that I have drawn here, if this is what is true, if Q1, Q2, Qn0, the points of E are like this, then one particular candidate is, I look at this smaller interval around the point P, and that will do the job. This will be a neighborhood of P which will not contain any point of E besides the point P itself. Correct? Is this okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What I have drawn in black
Yes,
here, right? Yeah. So one way to analytically write the same thing is, how will I go on choosing a neighborhood? So if I have to choose a neighborhood, meaning the center is P, is fixed, right? I have to choose a neighborhood of P. So I have to give you what is the radius of that neighborhood, right? So I am going to say that let's consider R as, what do I consider? I'm going to look at the distance of the point P from the point Q1, the distance of the point P with the point Q2, all the way up till Qn0. Yeah? There are only finitely many points. So the usual thing you do is P minus Q1 an absolute value. Instead of that, I'm going to use the metric function D to compute the distance. Now this will give you some N0 numbers. I am going to choose the minimum of them, right? Now certainly R is going to be positive. Why will R be positive? Because we have assumed that each of these points, Q1, Q2 up to Qn0, are all distinct from P. So each of them, these distance between P and Qi, each of these are positive quantities. Yeah? And I'm taking a minimum of only finitely many quantities, so I'll get a positive outcome. Is that correct? Is everybody with me? So now my suggestion is that let's look at this open ball in the metric D with center P, radius R. Mind you, this is exactly what I have drawn in black ink here. Now this, I am saying, contains by construction no point of E different from P. Correct? Yes? So here I have found you a neighborhood of the point P which does not contain any other point of E except possibly the point P. This is a contradiction to the assumption that P is a limit point of the set E. So limit point of E, and hence we are done. Is this okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So do we take it as a yes with all the students present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if this makes sense, so upshot, let's go back to the statement one more time. If P is a limit point of a set E subset of X, then every neighborhood of P in fact contains infinitely many points of E. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we have been able to follow this thing, then it's time to see another definition. Yeah. Okay. So here is another definition. Okay. So again, XT is a metric space. I'm going to say a set E subset of X is said to be closed in the metric space XT if and only if it contains all its limit points. A set E subset of X is said to be closed in a metric space XT if and only if it contains all its limit points. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see examples. Yeah. Let's see examples and non-examples. So for example, so let's stick to the Euclidean metric for now. Yeah. So I am considering the real line with the Euclidean metric. Sorry. Sorry. Right. And what is my subset? Let's consider the interval AB. Yeah. Let's call this one. So let's consider E to be the interval AB. Yeah. So the question I'm asking here is the open interval AB a closed subset of the Euclidean space RD? Yeah. Okay. So if you remember, last time we discussed this when we were discussing examples on limit points, and we all agreed that the endpoints A and B are in fact limit points of this set. Now, clearly, this set does not contain the limit point A and B, and hence, in the sense of the definition above, E is not closed in the Euclidean space RD. Is that okay? So I'll just write it here. A and B are limit points. So these are just hints. Limit points of the set E, but clearly A and B do not belong to E. Conclusion, what is the conclusion? The set E in the example 1 is not closed. In which metric space? In the metric space, Euclidean metric space RD. Is this okay? Does everybody see this example?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Yes? Is that a yes with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Let's move on to one more example. Let's see one more example. Yeah, again we will just stick to the Euclidean line. Let's take E to be the set of natural numbers which we just discussed. Right? Now, what did we discuss here? What are the limit points of the set of natural number? What did we discuss here? We discussed that no point of the real line can be a limit point. No real number can be a limit point of the set of natural numbers, right? The set of limit points of the set of natural numbers is empty. Yeah. So what does it say about this? So if I ask you this question, is the set of natural numbers closed in the Euclidean metric space? What would be your answer? Louder, please.
It's closed under R&D.
It is closed under R&D. Why is that? Because this in fact has no limit points. Yeah, so I'll just write that down for the benefit of everybody. No real number can be a limit point of the set of natural numbers. Correct? We saw this example last time, and hence the set of limit points of this set E is empty. Hence, this set is closed in the metric space RD. Is that correct? Everybody with me?
Yes.
Is this correct? So shall I take it as a yes? The silence means yes.
Ma'am,
Yes, tell me.
can you please explain the first example once again?
This example,
The
open interval AB. Yeah. So, you know,
Yeah,
last time, not today's lecture, last time we saw that if you consider the open interval AB as a subset of the Euclidean, the real line, then the endpoints A and B are in fact limit points of E. Right? So, this is a separate observation. Right? Now, clearly, I am considering here only the open interval AB. So, A and B do not belong to the set E. Right? Yeah, so all I'm trying to say is the endpoint A. So A is a limit point, but A does not belong to the set E. So this set clearly does not contain all of its limit points. In particular, it does not contain the point A and the point B, which are limit point of this set. So hence E cannot be closed.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, is that okay? Does that answer your question? Yes? Yeah. Okay. All right. So now off to example 2. Is this okay with everybody? We just discussed this. No real number whatsoever can be a limit point. Yeah. So the question here is if it contains all of its limit points. I'm saying there are no limit points for this set of natural numbers. Yeah, so this is closed in RD. Is this okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Is that okay? So shall we see the next example? Everybody with me? Yes. So let's take example 3. Let's take E to be this time closed interval AB. So my question to you would be, what are all the limit points of E in this example?
The E itself, ma'am,
So
including all points.
there is certain claim required. So last time in the class, in the example, we saw that each point of the interval AB is a limit point. This is something that we saw last time. This was done. The next statement is, this is all the set of limit points of E is precisely, the next statement is precisely the interval AB. The next statement is that no other point, no other real number can be a limit point of the set E. Yeah, so I'll try to sort of give you a hint for the benefit of those who are seeing it for the first time. Yeah, so what am I trying to say here? So let's say A is here and B is here, right? So the first point, that each point of the interval AB is a limit point of this set. We saw this last time. Now the second claim is no other real number can be a limit point of this. I don't know what is happening. So no other real number. So suppose, let me pick this. Yeah, I am claiming this cannot be a limit point of this set. Why is that? I say that you pick this particular neighborhood of this point. You know, this particular neighborhood does not contain any point of the interval AB besides this point. Yeah. So hence this point cannot be a limit point. And likewise, yeah, the second statement also holds true, yeah, but this is something that you need to check. Please check. So does everybody present here follow this, that no other real number besides the interval AB is a limit point of the set E here? So do I take this silence as yes? Is that a yes with everybody?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So upshot of all of this discussion is that the set E contains all of its limit points, and hence in this example, E is closed. Yes? Yes? Any point of time there's something which is bothering you, please ask. Another example is, what if E is the empty set? And the question I am asking is E closed in the Euclidean space? Yeah, so in order to answer this question, you need to tell me what are the limit points for this set. What are the limit points for this set?
No limited point.
Before?
No limit point.
Yeah, no
There is no limit
There is
point.
nothing in the set, right? So by definition, the definition holds true. There's a term in mathematics. This is called as vacuously true. Yeah. So E is closed. An example is right. What if I take the entire real line? What if I take the entire real line? Again, the question is this set closed in RD? Yeah. So this brings me to the following question. What are the limit points of this set R?
The whole E itself.
The entire E is the limit point of the set R. So again, you know, E contains all of its limit points. So this is another example of a set which is closed in R. Is this okay? I tried to give you some examples and some non-examples. Is this okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
is that all right? Okay. So let's see. So let's go back to the definition of closed set. A set E subset of X is said to be closed in XT if and only if it contains all of its limit points. Yeah. And we saw some examples. If this all seems okay, then I will like to sort of talk about the next set of examples. But before that, let's see a definition. Okay. So again, let XD be a metric space. XD be a metric space. And let's consider a subset E of X. Then E is said to be open in X. When do we say a subset is open in a metric space? So open in X in the metric space XT if the following is true. If for each point of E, I'm going to label it as X. For each point in X, there exists a neighborhood. For each point of X, there exists a neighborhood N of X that is entirely contained in E, such that so X belongs to N and this neighborhood is entirely sitting inside this set E. Yeah. So again, you know, let's discuss this definition in light of the Euclidean space, which is something that we are familiar with. So let's consider the Euclidean space, which means the metric is defined by this. See, why am I writing this metric again and again? Because if I consider the same set with a different metric, then, so for example, then, you know, so for example, if I consider another metric D1 on the set of real numbers, and if E subset of X is open in RD, that does not imply that E subset of X is open in RD1. Yeah, if this property of being open depends on which metric I am talking about. So that is why we say E is open in the metric space XT. Anyways, let's see some examples, and hopefully you will all agree with what I'm trying to say. Examples. Yeah, so let's consider the first example. Let's take E to be the empty set. Now the question is E open in the Euclidean space? So what does the definition say? For each point in E, there exists a neighborhood of that point which is entirely contained in E. Now for the empty set, there is no point, so there's no neighborhood to be talked about. Yeah, so for this, we will say E is open. This is vacuously true. Yeah, so I'll just write that E is open in RD. Everybody with me on this example? Is that a yes?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am?
Somebody get a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
Even in the last example, in the previous definition, E was closed as well.
Which one? This, right. So a set can be open as well as closed. Yes.
A set can be open as well as closed.
Yes, both can happen.
Okay.
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Right. Let's see one more example. Example 2. Let's take E to be the set of real numbers. Right. Now, what do I want to say? So I want to check whether this set is open or closed. Well, sorry, I take my words back. We have all agreed that this set E is closed in R. The question that I am asking is whether E equals this entire real line. Is this set open in the Euclidean metric space? So what is that I have to say? So I claim that this is open. Why is that? Let's see. Yeah, so I claim that for each real number x, so for each real number x, I look at the following neighborhood around the point x. Yeah, so remember, what do neighborhood looks like in the real line? They look like open intervals around the point x. So I look at the interval x minus 1, x plus 1, and this is definitely contained in the set of real numbers, right? So here is a neighborhood around the point x, which is entirely contained in the set of real numbers. And hence, and this is true for every real number, yeah? Hence, I claim that the set R E is open in the metric space RD. Yeah? So here's another example of a set which is both open as well as closed. So is this okay? Is this example okay with everybody present here? Is this example okay with everybody present here? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The next example is, so let's take E to be the open interval AB. Yeah. So I have a point A and a point B, and I'm asking about the open interval AB. Yeah. So I'm asking, is the set E open in the Euclidean metric space in the sense of the definition I have given here? So I have to show that if this is true, that for each point in E, there is a neighborhood of that point that is entirely contained in E. So do you all agree? Is this open? Is this not? Again, but very similar argument as example 2. So if I pick a point here, yeah, then clearly this is a neighborhood of what I have drawn in blue is a neighborhood of this point which is entirely contained in E. And no matter how close I go to A, I can always do that. Yeah. Is this okay? Does everybody see this? That E is open in RD. There's a question mark here. Does everybody see this? That this is the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
No matter
Yes, ma'am.
what point you pick in the interval AB, you can always find a neighborhood. There's a little argument that you have to provide here. I am not writing that here. But does everybody agree with me? Does everybody see and is confident of filling in that argument here? that why is E open in RD in this particular example? So do I take this silence as yes? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So if nobody says anything, I will take it as a yes. So let me do one more example. So example 4. What if I take E to be the closed interval AB? Yeah. Now again, I ask the same question. Is E open in RD? Now I am allowing the endpoints A and B also. Is E open in RD?
No, ma'am.
So if you say no, you have to give me an answer. So by definition, this means that you have to give me a point of the set E such that no neighborhood of that point is entirely contained in the set E. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So what is that point here?
A and B.
Yeah, A and B. So the suggestion here is that you look at the point A, no matter what you do, for every epsilon positive, the neighborhood of A look like this, you know, A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon. No matter what epsilon you choose, this neighborhood of A cannot be entirely contained in the set E. Cannot be entirely contained in the set E, and hence E is not open in RD. Does everybody follow? Yeah, yeah. There is this portion to the left of A. Yeah, the interval A minus epsilon to A. No matter what neighborhood you choose and what epsilon you choose, there is no way you can accommodate this interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon inside the set E, and hence by definition E is not open in the set RD. Is this okay?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So we have seen an example of a set which is not open. Yeah, so I will sort of end our time with a couple of statements and let's say an exercise. So so let's take E to be the set of natural numbers. Is N open in the Euclidean metric space? So what is the question here? For each natural, so if N is open in the Euclidean metric space, so you have to check this by the definition. For each point in N, is there a neighborhood of that point that is entirely contained in the set of natural numbers? Huh? So this is something for you to check. So the point of, so I'll just sort of say two statements. So in light of, because one student asked this also, a set can be both open as well as closed. A set can be both open and closed. Is this okay? Yeah. Yeah, we have seen example. For example, the empty set and the entire real line, they were both open as well as closed. Yeah. So again, you know, if these definitions appear rather strange to you, I request you to please go back and, you know, work out these examples. And, you know, we have discussed these examples only on the set of real line with the Euclidean metric. You pick your favorite set and try to work out whether it is closed or open. Yeah. Again, you know, no amount of scaring on the screen will help you. You will have to pick paper and pen and write. Yeah, please do that. Only then you will be able to digest this material well. Yeah, that's all I think I wanted to say. So I will stop right here for today's session. We continue on Thursday morning. So that is a tutorial session based on assignment 2. As I requested all of you, whatever you could have tried up till that time, please write it down properly on paper, legibly, scan it and keep it on your desktop or laptop ready for presentation on the tutorial session at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah. All right.
Ma'am, one question.
Tell me.
Is there any other set except for the empty set and the entire set which is both open and closed?
It depends on which matrix space you're talking about. In the matrix space, on the real line with the Euclidean matrix space, there are none. But we will see why a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any other matrix space, maybe there are examples. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Yeah, for the Euclidean matrix, there are none. But why, we will see in a little while. Yeah, we are yet to sort of go to that stage, yeah, in order to supply an argument for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah?
Exactly.
All right. Anything else?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me, Aman.
Ma'am, it's Priyanshu. Priyanshu is asking something.
Oh, Priyanshu is asking something. I see Aman. Okay, anyways, go ahead, Priyanshu. Yeah.
Ma'am, if we have a set in, if we have a subset of R such
Yeah.
that the subset is composed of only discrete numbers. I mean, it's not a subset of in the form of an interval. Then that would always be open, right? Just wanted to confirm this.
So let me write down something. Yeah, let me write down what you are trying to say. So I have not introduced this term discrete. So let's see. So what is the term discrete? I don't know, but let's see. So what you're trying to say is, for example, I have a subset E. Let's see like this: 1, 2, 3, and let's say 10. Right? This is an example of what you're talking about. Just an example, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the question is that E is open.
No, it will never be open. I mean, these
Or
kind of
E
sets.
is not open.
Yes.
Yes. Why is that? Because you pick any point, the entire neighborhood of that point can never be, no matter what epsilon you choose, the epsilon neighborhood of that point cannot be contained in the real line. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it is sort of a similar argument will sort of help you in working out this exercise 5. Yeah. Is the set of natural numbers open in the Euclidean matrix? Right?
Ma'am, same question. If we
Yes.
consider each discrete element as a rational number, then in that case, what would happen?
So rational numbers. So is E the set of rational numbers?
Yes, ma'am. It is a discrete set, and yeah. So
Why do you say this set is discrete? What is the definition of your discrete set?
because but R is dense in R, so
See, I don't know any density.
not
Yeah.
sure, but yeah, because irrationals lie between there, so I was just thinking something like.
So anyways, here is a question from a friend of yours. Given E is Q, is E open in RD? Right? I think this is one of the assignment problems. Is E open in RD? Yeah. Please try a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mind giving you the solution, but I don't want to sort of steal the joy of working it out on your own. Try a little bit. Yeah. And then we'll surely discuss it. Anything else?
No, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care.